All right, welcome back for another episode of the CBSI Hot 10 show. This is the list that I do for comicbookinvest.com, so make sure you go over to the site and check out the article where I may put a few extra tidbits and details that I may not do here on the show tonight. Also, check out all the shows we do have here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And if you want to see this week's list, just hang over a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back.
Notable sales.
And our first notable sale of the week is related to Daredevil Born Again, which premiered on Disney Plus this week to, well, I don't want to say mixed reviews. Everyone I've spoken to has enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I guess there's always some people who can't be satisfied. So with that said, here we have Daredevil number 7, the first appearance of that iconic red suit. This is a CGC 9.2. This one sold for a new all-time high this past week of $7,999 in a 9.2. The last 9.2 that sold for close to that at $7,200, but still a decent jump in price of almost $800 over the last, about almost a year, because the last time one of these sold was back in April of 2024. So a nice little increase there for a book that, again, is becoming more and more relevant, as we saw the red suit already, and we're bound to see the red suit again. But with that, that's our first notable of the week. I do have another one for you. I debated what to place in here, but the thing that really stood out to me more than anything else this week was this mini comic book. That's right. He-Man, The Power of the Sword. This is the little mini comic book that would have come with the figures from Mattel back in 1981. This little book here, it's the first appearance. I mean, it's the first comic appearance of the, of He-Man in comics. So getting this, one, isn't all that easy. Two, getting it in a 9.8 is even more difficult because this is the only 9.8 I've ever seen come to market and the only one that's ever sold on the market. So let's just keep that in context here as well. So this book selling this past week was asking, when it was listed, it was asking $10,000, which is a huge number, sure. But even what it did get, in getting half of that at an accepted price of $5,000 is still another huge number for this book. And again, it's the only 9.8 that I've seen out there and the only 9.8 I've seen sell. So this is an all-time high, setting that benchmark now for any of these mini comics at $5,000 for a 9.8. Impressive stuff, and just something I thought that we definitely needed to note here on the show this week. Despite the fact I did see some other interesting sales, these were the two that kind of jumped out to me most. Now, before we get into the top 10, let me remind all of you out there who may need supplies, please use my link and the code below, RENA10. That'll save you 10% off your entire BCW order. You need your bags, your boards, your long boxes, your short boxes, CGC boxes, top loaders, pages for your cards, whatever you need to keep your comics and collectibles safe. If you're going to go shopping over at BCW like I do, save yourself some money and get 10% off your order by using the code RENA10. So keep that in mind anytime you're ordering your supplies and save yourself a few bucks and you help out the channel at the same time. Now, with that all said, we've gotten all that out of the way. Now we can finally get to the list with our first book.
Number 10.
And our first book ties in with Daredevil Born Again. And this is a book we've seen on the list multiple times before, and it's found its way back again. This is Daredevil 11 from Charles Soule. This is the introduction of Muse into comics, and we did already get a tease of Muse here in the early premiere episode. So with that, Daredevil number 11 pops back up on the list with a bit of an increase in sales from last week. Granted, only about 20 sales, but that does represent over a 54% increase in sales from last week, with averages still around $78, highs around $100, which is what we've seen previously, and sets with issue 14, which is the first cover appearance of Muse, those still kind of hover around that $150 mark for the pair. So keep all that in context. But the reason it's grabbed a spot here at the bottom of the list is that 54% jump in volume from one week to the next. So keeping an eye on those types of trends has me looking at this book. And we'll see where this goes in the weeks ahead, because we're only going to get more Muse going forward as this series progresses. Now, that was our number 10 books kicking us off. So let's see what I got for you next.
Number 9.
Now, Daredevil is not the only thing currently streaming right now. We are also coming near the end of the third season of Invincible. I myself have to play some catch up on this series, but I do know where we're at and I do know where we're going. And they are progressing quickly as we are getting the Invincible War, causing a lot of people to go back and pick up this book. So, Invincible number 60, we're getting Conquest. We got to announce who Conquest is going to be. It's another book to keep an eye on. A lot of fun stuff happening there on that animated show. This book in particular had more jumps than that first Conquest, which is issue 61, which is why it earned the spot at number 9, while the other book, well, maybe stick around after the show and see if it made that outside looking in. Not to kind of tease it too much, but yes, 15 sales doesn't seem like all that much, but considering I think there was only like 1 or 2 sales last week, a 433% increase is why this one earns our attention here. Also, with averages around $50 raw, highs around $75, which is a 67% increase over the highs of last week, which were only around $40. And the CGC 9.8 this week is about $250, which is 47% higher than the last sale in a 9.8. So, with those increases across the board, even if the volumes are not significantly that high yet, I mean, these aren't the easiest books to find. Invincible wasn't the highest printed book, out there at Image. It kind of struggled for a stretch there. And with that, some of these books are just pricey for that reason because of the lower end print run compared to, maybe our Marvel and DC, brethren. But with those increases this week, that's why it's earned its spot here at number 9. With that, let's keep this thing rolling and see what we got for you next.
Number 8.
All right, bouncing back to Daredevil Born Again. We also had the appearance of White Tiger in those first 2 episodes, so not surprised to see some people going back towards this first White Tiger in comics. White Tiger did have appearance before this in a comic like magazine, which is still technically a comic, but magazine format may not be for everybody, is a bit more pricey, where this book is a bit more accessible, which is why I think we see a lot more volume and more people turn to it because it is more accessible and it is more of an affordable price for them, even if it isn't the true first of, Hector as the White Tiger. This is Spectacular Spider-Man number 9, George Perez cover here. This book this week is up in volume over 81% with about 20 sales. The average price is up slightly, only up 18%, but it's still getting about $26 for those raw copies with a high raw sale of $45 this week. And CGC 9.8 sold for $206, which is not near the highs, which were closer to $250 not that long ago, but still want to reference it and still want to give you that data point so you have some sense of where this book is. And why this is here at 8, it's because of that percentage increase in volume with that slight bump in price as well. Those two things working in concert earned at this spot here at number 8. Now, we've got plenty more to come on the list, so let's not waste any time and let's get right to our next book.
Number 7.
And here at number 7, we have another indie option. Yes, this is Impact Winter out of Skybound, out of Image Comics. Word on the street is Netflix is planning to adapt this into something. So with that news, people start buying books. Now, many of these books have sold at cover to start, but once those cover price copies sold, the average kind of jumped itself up close to that $10 mark, with highs reaching as much as $35. Granted, there was only one sale for that amount. Most were in that kind of $15 to $20 range at the high end, but there was that one outlier at $35. So I did have to note that. But 20 plus sales this past week represents a 41% increase from last week. When this was announced last week, there was a huge rush on Friday. So that's where, the battle is. Otherwise, the percentage could have been astronomical if we would have done the difference there. But we did have a bunch of sales, half dozen or so, or about a dozen or so, I believe, last Friday, which is what limits that percentage jump. But still, a decent amount of volume and a decent increase in price for a book that nobody was talking about before that news. So this was something just kind of out of left field, out of nowhere. Happens all the time with these indie options. Book goes from basically a cover price to a book that everyone wants to pay $10-15 for. And here we have another candidate and another one of those examples now with Impact Winter. That said, let's keep the list rolling and get to our last book on the bottom half at our number 6 spot.
Number 6.
And at number 6, we have Fantastic Four Annual number 6. And you all know what this book is. It's the first appearance of Annihilus, which is true. But that is not why it's here, because sad news, Henry Cavill, rumored to be a nihilist. We're not getting that on a Nova series. I would have watched that. I would have watched the heck out of that show. Looking forward to Nova, but apparently it's got put on the back burner for now. I can be patient. I can wait. But no, the reason why this book is here is because this book has two first appearances in it. Not just the Nihilist, but this is also the first appearance of little Franklin Richards, the son of, Sue Storm and Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards. So that is why this one is popping up here, because with some of those Marvel leaks, which is another popular theme running through our list this week, along with Daredevil, Born Again, the Marvel leaks are driving a lot of sales. And some of those leaked images, storyboard, concept art, whatever we want to call it, rumor is all we can call it for now, because nothing has been confirmed. But they did show a little Franklin Richards flying around in a little Grogu style, Baby Bjorn or something or other. Whatever it is, maybe, and it makes a lot of sense, we are getting Franklin Richards, which is causing people to go back to this book, which has been here before on the list. But it's finding its way on the list this week because of a 20 sale or so jump of 81% from last week. So last week we had a handful of sales, but now with about 20 sales, we got an 81% increase in volume. Prices are still pretty solid on this, with raws averaging about $85, a high raw of $172, but the biggest sale of the week was that 8.5 for $650. With classic books like this, it's kind of hard to compare like those prices, because this is obviously condition sensitive. Higher grades, you're going to pay a higher price, but books like this also sell consistently in lower grades, which is something you don't see with most modern books. So it's a little bit of a different animal and has to be looked at a little bit differently, but that percentage increase is the main reason for the jump here and its spot at that number 6 on the list. And with that said, we still have the top half on its way. So with that, let's not waste more time. Let's just get right to it.
Number 5.
Making its return after a week off, we have the Amazing Spider-Man 129. Yes, that classic first Punisher. We saw this on the list 2 weeks ago as Daredevil Born Again was prepping to drop everywhere. And yes, we did get that drop this week of those premiere episodes. And with that, a reminder that we are getting Frank Castle coming to our small screens here at home, in addition to that special we'll be getting, in the future. But Amazing Spider-Man 129. There isn't much I need to tell you more about what this book is, but what I can tell you why it's back on the list is because after a dip last week, this thing has rebounded strong with about 30 sales, which is a 50% increase over last week's sales. Average price is up on almost 50% as well, up to about $1,600. That's graded raw, regardless, all mixes and matches of different types, because books like this, a lot of graded sales. So it's hard to separate the two. And this goes from things to lower grade, couple $100, $300 type sales, to those higher grade CGC 9.4s doing $4,500, which was the high watermark sale for the week. So once again, you can't apples to apples compare it to those modern books. But when you put all the facts and figures all together and you do some consideration, you can see here why this is number 5 on the list, with those volume and those average price increases about 50%. So Punisher rebounds strong after a dip last week. We'll see where it goes from here as Daredevil Born Again continues. And as we continue with our list, let's see what we have next at number 4.
Number 4.
We are sticking with another yellow cover and another Daredevil book. So this time out, we're looking at Daredevil 131, the first appearance of Bullseye. Not trying to spoil the show if you haven't gotten to Daredevil yet, Born Again over on Disney+, but Daredevil does open it up there with a face-off against his old foe, Bullseye. And it is a heck of a fight. And it really puts gets the show rolling and sets the stage for everything we have to come. So with that said, Bullseye's first appearance. Obviously, I'm not surprised after that premiere, people have gone back to pick up this book. This is Daredevil once again, 131, Rich Buckler cover. That bright yellow pops. It kind of jumps out at you. I used to have this at 9.6, but actually sold it to get money towards my Hulk 181. So I do kind of regret getting rid of that 9.6. But hey, we all got to do what we got to do. But this week, why does it find itself here at the number 4 spot? It's because with over 20 sales this week, that was an increase of 130% in volume, while the average raw price also jumped 45% up to about $125. So volumes and averages both rising on this book across the board with a high raw of 185. Now, graded sales on this also moving, but most of the graded sales this past week have been in that like 7.0 kind of range, 6.0, kind of mid-grade. Kind of mid-grade. We haven't had a high grade sale since I think a week or two ago, where we did have one that sold for like 3K. But that all notwithstanding, we can still just look at the volumes of raw books and how those are moving, because this is a book that, again, will sell across all grades, even raw. Lower grade raws will still move. So when you factor all those things in again, you see the percentage increases. That's why it's got its spot here at number 4. With that said, we've got 3 left, so let's see what they are.
Number 3.
So, more Marvel leaks have us looking at X-Force 116 once again. Yes, a book that we probably haven't thought about in forever. So much so, in fact, that I couldn't even give you a percentage increase this week on this book, because I believe there was only 1 or 2 sales last week as compared to the 35 or so, a little more than 35 that I counted up since these leaked images of Dupe. Yes, that's why we're here, because of the first appearance of Dupe, not because of Zeitgeist we've already seen in Deadpool 2, or the rest of this new X-Force crowd from Milligan and Allred, but because of Dupe. Yeah, Dupe has the potential to be a fan favorite character in the MCU. He really does. If you know the character at all, he's got that R2-D2 type of quality to him, where I could see a lot of people, he'll sell plushies and all the extra little side material that goes along with the movie making. So with that said, I can see them wanting to bring him into the MCU. How it's going to work, I don't know yet, but we'll see. Again, over 35 sales, averaging about $20, high of $40 raw. CGC 9.8 newsstand is $250. I put for the picture here the newsstand version to show you the difference, because this one actually has a parental advisory on there, which is something you don't normally see, because if you didn't know, this also was sans comic code for Marvel. So the regular direct edition has, hey kids, look, no comic code. This one has the parental advisory down below, along with the newsstand barcode. But newsstands do a little bit of a premium, so keep that in mind. But the direct editions are just as good if you can find them, as you can see by those numbers on the side. But who knows if these leaked images are true, if we're getting any of this, but it's still got people excited and it's still got people buying books, and we can't complain about that. So with that, let's keep the list rolling, as we only got 2 left.
Number 2.
The biggest leaks, I guess, all related to Doom. So Doom is finding his way near the top yet again, as we got pictures of what appeared to be Emperor God Doom, that white-suited, cloaked Doom, throned in battle world, and everything. Yes, I don't think that comes really much as a surprise. I think most of us kind of expected it at this point to be the direction they're going to take with Secret Wars following Doomsday. Maybe we get a tease in Doomsday, and then we'll get Secret Wars. I don't know the exact plans. Obviously, I don't know if anybody really does for certain. And again, I don't know how much we can trust these leaks. But once again, the leaks still moved books, including this one, Secret Wars number 2, which, yes, we can debate the first appearance of Emperor God Doom all we want, but this seems to be the book that most people start gravitating towards. So the Alex Ross cover here with all the Thors is still a pretty cool cover. Basically, I think there was 1 sale last week. So again, I can't give you a percentage increase, because the percentage would be astronomical, going from 1 to over 50 sales the past week, literally based off of these leaks. So it's only averaging about $15, which is where it has been before. It's not a huge number, but it had dipped basically down to around cover price $5 and less. So hitting those highs of $30 once again, based off of this new excitement built off of these new images, or images, whatever they are. CGC 9.8s are also about $100. Point being, a lot of volume and a lot of people looking forward to potentially what we could get out of an Emperor God Doom, or what we're going to get in these Secret Wars, in the Secret Wars film coming up. So Russo brothers at the helm. Who knows exactly where we're going or how it's going to look, but I'm excited, and I know a lot of others are as well. But that is still our number 2 book for the week. So we have 1 left, so let's take a look and see what it is.
And our number 1.
And repeating at the top of the list, yes, this Red Hulk number 1 Doom cover, the Diamond PX exclusive, limited to 3,000 copies. That secret exclusive that was open order for shops some may have gotten allocated because it was limited, but this book is still selling strong. It's selling even stronger than last week, which is why it not only remains on the list, but remains at the top of the list. Again, really cool cover with that reflection of the Red Hulk there with Doom. As I mentioned, Doom is still a major mover on the market, and this book from last week's 30-plus sales has jumped all the way up over 100-plus sales this week, so an increase of 233% in volume. Yes, the average price did dip 13% to about $65, but that's still a big number for a book that by and large was available in most shops for like 15, 20 bucks is what I've gotten reports out of people out there that what they paid for it at their shops. So to go from that, last week's averages were 70, this week's averages are 65. So it's not a huge dip. And with that huge increase in volume, I'm surprised the price didn't actually dip, more than this, going down to closer to 50. But with that said, highest this week was only about $95, which is still a decent number, but it's not near last week's high as well. So following last week's initial rush and excitement, more copies hit people's hands, more copies moved on the market, but they still moved in such volumes that I couldn't deny the fact that this book earned itself here to remain at the top of the list, despite that small dip in average price. And with that said, that's our list for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, but don't go anywhere yet. Make sure you stick around for the boys and the qualified. Coming up next, they'll have the outside looking in, listing some books that almost made the list here and some other stuff that I think you should be keeping an eye on in the weeks ahead. So I have that list of 5 books for you on the outside looking in that the boys and the qualified will cover amongst their other content and segments that they'll be bringing you, including a market pulse on some other great books that you can get for under $100. I believe that's one of their topics for tonight's show. So with that all said, thanks for stopping by and checking this out and all the support, and I'll see you all soon with some more content. All right, later.